Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Around the Diamond. We have had a full jam-packed week of baseball. We got someone tying the home run leader, Shohei Ohtani. We've got major leads being made in divisions. It is crazy. We're going to talk all about it. Baseball Bill, as always, how are you doing on this fine Saturday morning?
Listen, I'm on the West Coast this Saturday, but next week I'm on the East Coast. I will be doing like this after the watch party in Boston, so it'll be good times.
It is going to be great times. Let's just jump right into this because there is a ton to talk about. I will talk about the AL
Yeah.
this week. We are looking at the AL East. Orioles are still leading that division, but it is very close right now. Looking at the AL in that spec, the Tampa Bay Rays are behind Baltimore, so anything can still happen. But the Blue Jays are still trying to compete, and it's kind of a crazy situation to see the Yankees 11 games out. But that's baseball. That's why we love this game. Moving over to the Central, the Twins have hit 60 wins, and with 47 games left in the season, we are probably going to hit that nail right on the head that whoever wins this division is going to have between 80 and 85 wins. But nothing crazy exciting in the AL Central. And then kicking it over to the West, the with a 2.5 game lead over the Astros. Mariners was trying to stay competitive though. And I think the Angels' hopes of being competitive and not being sellers at the trade deadline has now officially come back to bite them in the BUTT. Because they are 11.5 games back. And currently, when it comes to the wild card, yeah, see you next year. So, Bill, anything crazy
Well,
on the AL that you're seeing?
yeah, that B needs to be capitalized. No, I'm and the BUTT. No, Mariners have won what, 8 in a row. So Mariners are trying to kick it up into high gear. Remember, they're only a half a game behind Toronto in the wild card. The way that the Mariners schedule looks and the way that the Mariners are playing right now, all intents and purposes say that they'll get that third wild card spot, and they still get to play Houston too. So Houston and the Mariners can battle it out for that second wild card spot, which is just absolutely insane. So yeah, no, I'm the American League East was the division to watch. Now there's a new division in town to watch, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes, it is. Bill, what's going on in this NL? Give me some
Well,
highlights.
Sam's favorite saying right now, he told me before we started filming, was 7.5, but we'll get to that in a second. Um, Obviously, the Braves are still running away with their division. They got a 9.5 game lead over Philly, but Philly has kicked it into high gear. They're a playoff contender. They're looking good. Marlins are slowing down. Mets are. Somebody said the Mets are going to do, or Mets are going to Met, I think is what the term is, and that's exactly what they're doing. Nationals, thanks for coming. The new division to watch is the NL Central. Boom, right? The Brewers have a 2.5 game lead over the Cubs. Yes, the Cubs and the Reds. Yes, the Cubs. Now, the Cubs are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, besides the Mariners. They're a lot of fun to watch. The Pirates are still loving to play spoiler, and I cannot believe that we're going to say the Cardinals are in last place. Now, I think the Cardinals and the Pirates are going to duke it out for last place. I don't remember the last time I said Cardinals last place in the same sentence. Now, let's get over to the West into Sammy's favorite area, 7.5. 7.5 equals how many games the Giants are back from the Dodgers right now. 7.5, 7.5, 7.5. Just so that I say it enough so that Sam internalizes it and understands. The Diamondbacks have kind of fallen off. They're 12.5 back. Padres are 13.5 back. Colorado, see you next year. Now, in that wild card race for the NL, um, Chicago is now tied with Cincinnati in that wild card race for that third spot. Miami's only half a game out. Padres are 4 games out. Arizona's 3 games out. So there's still a little bit of a race. The nice part about the National League West is this. Sam and I will both agree that it's fun when the Dodgers and Giants are battling each other. For the most part, it would take a miracle for Colorado to win that division. But for the most part, the Diamondbacks are 12 and a half out, and the Padres are 13 out. So it becomes a two-team race. So there's two dogs in this race now. It's the Dodgers and Giants, which is the way that, Sam and I drew it up at the beginning of the season and said,
Yep.
this has got to happen. So, Sam, did I get that right, or am I completely off?
My favorite saying is not 7.5 out. My favorite saying is don't count your chickens before they hatch, because we've still got 47 games left in the season. And while the Dodgers are on a 9-1 win streak, anything happens in those 47 games. It's the fault that you can't count your chickens until they hatch.
Yep,
Game ain't over
that's
till the
true.
fat lady. I agree with you looking at the Central that I can't remember a time in the last maybe 20 years I've seen the Cardinals in last. It's quite shocking, especially with their lineup. And, being that they really weren't sellers at the deadline is a little bit more shocking. I definitely would have seen them being sellers. Arenado was on the block. Goldschmidt wasn't, but I could have seen some of their pitching being on the block, and definitely them looking to pass on some youth to look into the future. So it's a little shocking, seeing that. And then I think you and I both agree that we knew the Braves were kind of going to run away with that.
Yeah, and the Nolan Arenado, for a second, when you mentioned that, he considered LA, and there was a lot of talk out here in LA about him coming. You know what stopped that deal from happening?
No, what?
His contract. He's owed a ton of cash.
Oh yeah,
And
well,
any team that's going to chase
it's
after
one of the
Shohei,
reasons why Tatis getting traded is going to be so. It's one of the
yeah,
reasons why Tatis getting traded to the Yankees next year would be so difficult, because he has a major amount left on his contract. He has to waive his full guarantee, and then you got to deal with him. I mean,
yep,
so there's a lot that plays into it. I can definitely tell you this offseason is going to be extremely exciting and fun to watch, to see what happens with all these big name free agents. I can't wait till we get the opportunity to talk about it. But yeah, it's crazy heading into the postseason. But we will talk about more about the Fall Classic a little bit later into the show. Stat
yep,
leaders, not much has changed except for Freeman. For Eddie Freeman's moving up that batting average list.
yeah. And look at Justin Steele, and look at Taiwan Walker, 13 wins.
Yep.
I still don't. I still am confident that we won't see a 20-game winner this season.
I think it would be very, very difficult to see a 20-game winner, because Taiwan Walker or Justin Steele would literally need to win every game they start from here on out. And
Yep.
even that is still cutting it very close.
Yep.
I think each of them has 7 or 8 starts left, somewhere between there. So literally they can't miss a beat. If those two guys want to hit 20 wins, if we want to see a 20-win winner, it's basically pitching perfect till the
Yep. Agreed.
season ends.
Agreed.
And unfortunately, in my haste this morning, I did not update these strikeout leaders. So I am truly sorry, because I'm looking at these and I'm like, these are definitely last week's numbers.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull the Aaron Boone card to Lance Diaz on you. Yeah. We draw a line in the dirt.
That's it. Stolen base leaders, not a big change. However, Bill, you still confident we'll hit over 3,000 steals by the end of this? We'll get 3,000 steals by the end of the season?
it's going to be close, but if we look at this, I mean, we went up over 100 last week, and there's 6 weeks left in the season. So yeah, I think we could do it. I think we can do it.
Now, do you still now? We'll definitely hit 5,000 home runs.
Oh yeah, 5,000 home runs guaranteed, guaranteed. And Pete has been amazing, and so lately, so has Matt Olson.
Oh yeah, Matt Olson has finally tied Shohei Ohtani. They are now dual leaders. We have an NL and an AL tied 40 home run leader. There was a lot of talk at the beginning of the season of Shohei possibly hitting 60. I don't think it's going to be a possibility. I think he'll probably hit somewhere between the 48 and 53 number, somewhere in that realm with the games we have left. And I think Matt Olson will probably end right around that same mark. Bill, what do you think? You got Dodgers.
I think
Useless
Shohei
too,
will
though.
end up hitting at least 51, probably end the season about 53. Matt Olson's kind of a wild card because he's been streaky all season. And so if he stays on this tear that he's on, he'll hit over 50. But yeah.
Well, it's going to be fun to see us finally hit 5,000 home runs for the first time in, I think, MLB history. So it can only go up from here.
Dun dun. 7.5.
7. Not a crazy injury report this week. Again, we're talking about still
Except
some guys.
except for Shane McClanahan.
Yes, that one's going to be a big one, especially with the Rays in wild card competition. Especially now that they've expanded the wild card to be a short 3-game series and no longer a one and out situation. Shane McClanahan not being available is a huge hit for the Rays.
Huge.
And I think it'll even be really visible in these last 40 plus games. Mm-hmm. We have his impact. So, but we got some fun topics to talk about, Bill.
Let's get it on.
I know you're really excited to talk about this next topic. You want to take the lead on this next topic?
Let's go.
Who is going to win this MVP race that's currently neck and neck in the NL?
Okay, so everybody's going to think I'm a homer by saying this, but go look up Freddie Freeman's numbers. He's putting up video game numbers. He's putting up video game statistics. I think he's darn near close to 160 hits. Will he cross 200 hits this season? Probably. He's hitting 40 some odd, right? So my prediction with Freddie is that he hits 30 home runs this season. He has over 100 RBIs. He'll have 50 plus doubles. He'll have over 200 hits and he'll hit 350. There's your MVP. Now, Mookie Betts has put some good numbers up. I don't think they're there. Everybody loves Ronald Acuna Jr. Everybody loves this guy, and he's fun to watch. But Freddie's numbers are just slightly better than his. Matt Olson's hitting a bunch of bombs, and I agree those are fun to watch. I mean, like the 90s commercial said, chicks dig the long ball, right? But Freddie's doing it at a pace that is Freddie's doing it at more of a pace that makes more sense. And so I'm going Freddie Freeman on this one. What do you think? Where are you at?
I'm looking at this pool of people we have here, and they are all. I'm the one person who I would probably eliminate from this group of 5 would be Luis Arias, only in the aspect of he was traded from the Twins over to Miami, so it's really unfair to put him in an NL MVP race when he's only been there half the year. I'm still really riding high on the Acuna train. And the reason why is because while Freddie's hitting stats have been, above and beyond, this year, they've been truly consistent month over month, week over week, game over game. What Acuna has been doing, not just on the batting side, but also from a fielding perspective, I think is what slightly puts him over the edge over Freeman.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, Freddie's
Now, if we were going stat, I would, if we were going straight up stat to stat, bat to bat, I would agree that I think Freddie Freeman would probably have it locked up just because, again, he's got a slightly better, if not almost equal batting average. His hit stats have been a little bit higher. But when you take into account what I would say is the difficulty in the fielding positions that each of them plays, I would slightly put Acuna just, and I'm not saying by a lot, but just slightly ahead of Freeman.
yeah.
Just slightly taken into consideration with Acuna over Freeman is what Acuna has been able to do when he gets on base. Because while you can hit great and you can have a ton of doubles and stuff like that, being able to put your team into the position to score runs when getting a single, when just getting on base, Acuna, in my opinion, has done a better job of that than Freddie.
So
Acuna has been. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think I think there's no doubt Freddie is definitely. I think it's a battle strictly between Freddie and Acuna, if you ask me.
yeah, no, I agree. So here's some interesting statistical things real quick, and we'll move on to our next topic. So runs scored, Freddie Freeman 101, Ronald Acuna 102. Hits, Freddie Freeman 158, Ronald Acuna 154. Doubles, Freddie Freeman 43, Ronald Acuna 29. Triples, both have 2. Home runs, Freddie Freeman 23, Ronald Acuna 26. RBIs, Freddie Freeman 83, Ronald Acuna 70. Walks, Ronald Acuna 60, Freddie Freeman 54. Strikeouts, Ronald Acuna 65, Freddie Freeman 88. Stolen bases, Ronald Acuna 53, Freddie Freeman 16. Caught stealing, Freddie Freeman 1, Ronald Acuna 9. Batting average, 344, Freddie Freeman 337, Ronald Acuna. OPS, Freddie Freeman 1.017, Ronald Acuna 1.0. So you're deadlocked with both of them, which that's awesome. So it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and just going through those stats and hearing where they offset, where Freddie's higher and Acuna's lower, and then flipping it where Acuna's higher and Freddie's lower. These two couldn't be more evenly matched for an NL MVP race than I've seen probably in the last 10 years. This is probably, in my opinion, the closest MVP race we've had in the National League in a long time. And it's great to see. That's why I said these two guys are playing so well. But when you look at, in my opinion, who takes the greater risk of putting their team in the position to score more runs off of the small ball, like as we like to call it, I think Acuna just does a better job of it and has put himself just a slight edge above Freddie. But
That's
again, I'm nitpicking.
I listen, either one wins and it's worth it, right?
Yeah,
Both
100%. And I think the great thing about these two players, and then we'll move on to the next topic, is that they have such mutual respect for each other because they played together for a period of time, that I don't think either of them would be disappointed if the other won.
Yeah.
So
Probably
It's nice to see, and it'll be a fun way to watch the end of the season go for these two guys.
7.5.
But as we're looking towards October, we're trying to figure out who's making it to the Classic. There's a lot of good teams out there, and a lot of teams are really trying to make their way in. Bill, why don't you start with the AL? Who do you think are going to be our division leader or winners? Who's going to make the wild card, and then take us to the NL? Who you think?
That so I'm not going to predict who's going to the Fall Classic. That's too tough to do. Um, Baltimore has not been to the playoffs since 2016, nor has Texas been to the playoffs since 2016. They're both getting in. They're both going to win their divisions. They're both getting in. I do think Baltimore will win that division, even though Tampa Bay's only 2 games behind them. The Central, I really like. That is a disappointing division, but I still think that Minnesota is going to win that. As far as who gets in on the wild card race, Tampa Bay will get in, Houston will get in, and Seattle will get in. Toronto will miss it by an eyelash. Both Boston and New York will miss the playoffs.
Okay, okay.
So,
and as a East Coaster, well, I would like to see Boston make it. I'm not disappointed the Yankees won't.
eh, as as far as the divisions in the National League, obviously the Braves are going to win their division. Here you go. You ready? The Cubs are going to win the Central. Not the Reds, not the Brewers. Even though the Cubs are 2.5 games out, the Cubs are going to win the Central. The Dodgers are going to win the West, and I'm not being a homer, but 7.5 is a somewhat comfortable lead. Somewhat. I'm not saying that it's completely comfortable. As far as wild cards are concerned in the National League, Philadelphia, I think, will lock up a position. I think the Reds will get in. And believe it or not, I think that Cincinnati gets in. And believe it or not, I think that the Giants get in, but that leaves Miami on the outside looking in, Arizona, and the Padres. And the Padres bought their team this season, so nothing makes me more happy. Your breakdown?
I couldn't agree with you more. Looking on my in my opinion, I completely agree with you. I think Baltimore is winning that division in the AL East. While yes, Tampa Bay is 2 games back. Like I said, Shane McCallahan being out for the rest of the season is going to impact that win count.
Agreed.
They I don't see I see them ending probably right around 90 wins in the last 47 games. I see them pretty much going 50, going 500. I don't see them doing what they did at the beginning of the season, just going on a tear. I think Baltimore's got all the momentum, and I've said this year over year to you, Bill. The team that's hot is the team that you got to be afraid for. And Baltimore, since probably the middle of May, consistently has been the hottest team in baseball. I don't think there's any question about it. That's the team to watch in the AL for the whole freaking shebang. When it comes to the West, I think the Rangers are going to make it. I think the Astros are going to get the wild card, but they're going to just miss it by a hair for the division. And I could really care less about the Central because no matter what, I don't think they've got a shot. When it comes to the wild card, but if I have to pick a Central winner, it's going to be the Twins, just because, yeah, you got to pick someone at this point. But none of the teams are impressive. When it comes to the wild card in the AL, though, Tampa Bay is definitely going to lock one up, no question. I think Houston will, and I am actually going to agree with you that Seattle is going to make it, but I don't think it's going to be by a hair over Toronto. I think it's going to be by probably 3 or 4 games over Toronto. I think Seattle is really going to just make such a big push, and Toronto is not going to be able to keep up. That it's just they're going to run away, And then, yeah, I think that lead in the wild card is going to go from like a half a game lead. By the end of the season, I think we're going to see close to 4 to 7 game lead in that AL wild card race, because I just think the Mariners have got too much to go on. Moving over to the NL real quick. Yeah, I think Atlanta's definitely got it locked up. I think the Dodgers will win the division, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than the current 7.5 that Bill is riding high on. I think the Dodgers will win, but in my opinion, knock on wood, I think it's only going to be by about a 3.5 game lead. I think the Giants have been on a little bit of a losing streak right now, but they're bringing back guys that have been injured, and there is the anticipated debut of our number one pitching prospect, Kyle Harrison, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So watch out for that, because this kid is fire. When it comes to the Central, I also agree with you that the Cubs are going to win the Central, and I will even make this prediction that the Reds are going to be in the wild card. I think it is going to be Philly. I think Philly and San Francisco will either be 1 or 2, and then I think the Reds are going to take that 3rd spot, with the Cubs winning that division.
I love your breakdown. So I just went and looked up the schedule for the Tampa Bay Rays, right? Because I liked what you had said. So listen to this: September, 3 with the Guardians, then 3 with the Red Sox, 4 with the Mariners, 3 with the 3 with the Twins, 4 with the Orioles, 3 with the Angels, 3 with Toronto, 2 with Boston, and then they end the season with 3 with Toronto. So their entire September is teams that are vying for playoff positions.
Right.
So there's no rest for the weary. So I think that's important.
100%.
Let's talk scores.
Yeah, no, hey, look, we got to talk about this great schedule you got going on real quick before we get to the watch party.
Oh, my bad.
Bill, take me through the schedule for this week on the podcast side.
Jackson and Thomas are going to talk about the Braves. That will launch on Monday. Dustin, who has been on before, is a Cardinal guy, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what the Cardinals look like, what their anticipation was versus what they actually have done. Peter and Alden, which is a father and son group, are going to be joining us. One of them is a Dodger fan, one of them is an Angel fan, so that should be fun from Dodger or from a father-son perspective. Anthony's
they're
new
going
to
to
the
have a real
clubhouse.
fun time when this offseason comes and the Angels are trying to figure out what they're doing with Shohei, and the Dodgers are competing, and then they're both going to be hopefully sad when the Giants swoop in and lock them up.
So one of Peter's friends has said, "Dad, can we just be Dodger fans because they play in October?"
Nah.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. He said that to me not too long ago. Anthony's new to the clubhouse, and then I'm going to talk about the watch party on Friday, because we're going to be in Boston and we're going to be getting together for that watch party. So pretty excited about that.
That is right. Now, Bill is surprising us all week in the leagues this week. There will be random guests on. We don't know who's going to be showing up, so you're definitely going to Instagram on TopFanRivalry. Bill does that every day at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. He does 30 minutes. It is all about what happened the night before, so keep a lookout for that. And as well, we are 1 week away from the Boston Watch Party. It is going to be at Scores on Friday the 18th. We are 6 days away, not 7, and it is going to be a great time. Remember, the Red Sox are in New York playing the Yankees, so you are gonna not want to miss this. It is going to be great. Bill's got a ton of stuff planned. We have a lot of great things going for it, so don't miss out. Show up, make it huge. Bill is going to be excited to see you all. And on top of that, surprise announcement, Bill and I will both be in Philadelphia at the Phillies Giants game that Monday and Tuesday coming up. So if you are a Philly fan or a Giants fan and happen to be at that game, make sure you reach out to either Baseball Bill or myself. Let us know you're going to be there. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to get your feedback on what's been going on with the season and just talk some great baseball. to check out TopFanRivalry.com for the new podcasts, articles, and merch that Bill drops on the reg, and updates on watch parties across the country. But Bill, do you have any final comments and words for the great people
I
out there?
do. So make sure that you go and look up Rosie's Place. If you're in Boston, as you're rewatching this, because I know several of you do, as you rewatch this, look up Rosie's Place. And if there's a way to make a donation to them, feel free to do that. We will be collecting donations at the actual watch party. They're a women's organization in Boston that helps homeless women. We will be collecting donations for them. And so I'm excited to do that. We're also going to collect monetary donations, and Top Fan will be offering a monetary donation to Rosie's Place as well. So that being said, please feel free to look them up. We'll have more details about them. Sam and I might even do a live this week to talk about that. So Sam, that's all I got for this week.
Hey, we are excited for this upcoming watch party. We're thankful for our fans for being here, watching us, talking some good old baseball. Remember, drop your comments in the comment pool on YouTube or on this in the locker room. We want to hear your feedback, and we want to hear what you want us to talk about. So if you got any topics you want Bill and I to kind of dig into, make sure you mention them, because we will talk about them. But if you don't, we won't. Other than that, it was great seeing everyone, and we will see you on the field next week.